Fender just released the new Player Plus series, but is it worth it? To determine that, we're going to compare it to a Player Telecaster. And in the vein of our boss, Zach, let's talk about it. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
And I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like our videos. If you'd like to support the channel, visit our spring store link below for our custom designed t-shirts. So Zach, over on our other YouTube channel, the Audio Lab channel, has a great series of Is It Worth It? And so today, yeah, it's a good question for these. I know what my opinion is, but let's talk about it first. The new Player Plus Telecaster, you've got a Plus Tele.
Player Tele.
The new Player
No
Tele.
Plus.
Yeah, no Plus. And so this is addition, and that's no subtraction. Just is what it is.
It just is, yeah.
So, you know, I saw a great comment on our first video covering the series where someone said, Fender's going to get into multiplication and then we're all doomed.
We're going crazy on that
So
one. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Player Squared.
Player Squared, you know it's coming, dude.
So, but the question is, are these a good value? So let's talk about price first, and then we'll kind of do a feature comparison set.
Yeah.
How much is your guitar?
I believe players right now are going for $699, correct?
$799.99.
$799. $799.99.
$999.99.
Okay.
Currently, here's the disclaimer below. Please check our website, alamomusic.com, for the latest pricing information because it's subject to change.
Yeah, because yesterday these were $699.
Well, they have
I
been
didn't
creeping
check
up over the years.
site,
I
yeah.
remember when, like, I don't even think they were called Players at the time, but the Made in Mexico standard
yeah.
was like $500. You know, everything's
Yeah.
gotten more expensive over the years. So $799 is what this will go for. $999.99. Can't leave out that 99. That was the most genius move ever in marketing because now everyone thinks of it as less than $1,000. So for less than $1,000 by penny and less than $800 by penny are these two guitars. And, you know, honestly, that's a good value in and of itself, even at $799, because everything's gone up in price. If you compare this guitar, like I had this revelation the other day, you realize that there are companies selling import guitars made in China for like $2,000, right?
Oh, yeah.
So made in North America, very good quality, $799 I think is still a pretty good value.
Yeah.
Now that you know it's $799, is this a good value?
I think it is a good value. And I think, you know, we've talked about it with other guitars before. If you were to piece out the upgrades that are made from this to this.
Like say you bought that and did this to it,
You'd have to get a carpenter to route out a belly carve.
For people who have bellies.
Yeah. But just locking tuners and noiseless pickups.
Just the tuners alone, I think, are almost that $200 price difference.
Yeah.
So I think the value's there. Let's talk about feature difference. So they're both alder bodies, both Teles. You already pointed out this has the belly carve. That's just
No belly carve.
That's the cutting board.
Yeah.
Right, the butcher block, which I like actually.
It's cool.
Hardware is different. So let's talk about the hardware on this.
Yeah, so I'm talking about it visually, and then you can follow it up with what it actually is.
Yeah.
The saddles on both of these are the kind of flat. They're not the bent.
They're not bent steel saddles. They're block saddles.
Yes. So why do those appear to be a little more matte, whereas these are
These actually have more mass.
chrome?
And my understanding, these are stainless steel block saddles, I believe. Those are nickel chrome and probably pot metal. It's just a cheaper metal that's being utilized. The bridges, I think, are probably the same. They appear to be the same. The knobs are pretty much the same hardware except for...
Yeah. So that's another thing. If you were to get, you know, a tech to give you switching options and stuff, that's another huge expense.
You could do it yourself. And if you've let's figure out the price on both sides. You know, pricing for techs vary, but usually a music store might charge you $150, $200 for the parts and for the soldering on your guitar. But you could go down to the hobby shop yourself. You can buy yourself a soldering gun for $15. You can buy a pot online for probably $15. You're wiring, you know, you're going to pay $5. It's going to be way more than you ever need, but it'll spend the rest of its life in your garage. And then, you know, we have to figure out the medical bills after you've burned your fingers and all of that other stuff.
Yeah. So it's a good deal. So that's the thing. I think the biggest thing to compare here would be the pickups.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Player Series Alnico 5 pickups, noiseless pickups.
Noiseless pickups, definitely more expensive if you just spec these. They're going to cost more if you buy the pickups outright. They cost more, period. You know, the other thing too, though, and you already mentioned the locking tuners that this guitar has, but the other thing that I think is lost, and I don't know that we gave it enough emphasis in our video, is the different feel of these. So they both have medium jumbo frets, but this has a decidedly more modern feel. And I'm curious what you think about it. So that has a 9.5 radius, and it has the standard nut width. This is a slightly wider nut and a flatter radius at 12 inches instead of 9.5. So this is a more modern setup. Now you've also got the feel difference as far as the rounded edges of the fretboard and the very nice satin finish. They're both satin finish, but this one feels a little bit different.
Nicer. Yeah.
And that might either be the material that they're using for the finish or just the way it's been rounded and utilized. But I think the scale length and the nut width on its own definitely changes the feel of these guitars. Have you noticed?
You know, I actually had a conversation with a customer, Glenn. How's it going, dude? It was one of the people that I was like, I can't tell you about something, but it's coming out soon. And then I finally got to say, well, there's a new Telecaster coming out, pretty cool. And he was concerned that a 9.5 or 7.5 radius might be a little more comfortable for him than a 12-inch radius because he's more of a chord guy. I'm not sure how you feel about that. If you really feel that much of a difference to where a flatter radius would hinder chord playing, I don't think so.
I think it depends upon where you're playing the chording. I think it varies for every single person.
Yeah.
I think it's an important discussion that probably isn't had enough. But, you know, it was the last time this kind of came up was in regards to John Mayer's move to PRS and when the Silver Sky came out because it had the rounder 7.25 radius, which is more of a vintage Fender radius. And the reason usually to stay away from that is that you can't set the action as low and bend without fretting out. PRS seems to have accomplished it pretty well, but that's kind of the compromise. So the reason, and when we're talking about chording, we're not talking about cowboy chords down here. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about chording up the neck. And usually if you're playing in a Hendrix Mayer style and you're chording up the neck, which you tend to, but slightly differently, arguably, those guys tend to play with the thumb over the top of the neck. And if you're playing with the thumb over the top of the neck and you're trying to like do that chord shape, you know, where you're playing your rhythm and you're kind of lead at the same time, you may prefer the rounder radius. I think Mayer prefers it because it's what he started with, period. Right, and it's a signature model, so it is what it is. I think people who are used to it will probably prefer it. But I think younger players have tended to prefer flatter radiuses, and they're not the only ones. So, you know, you talk about people who play in the Hendrix style. Eric Johnson plays in a Hendrix style, and his signature model has a 12-inch radius. Les Pauls are all 10-inch radiuses. You know, and so I don't think that this is that non-traditional. I think it's just that kind of flavor coming in, but it's an important distinction between these guitars. Some people will prefer one over the other regardless of the price. So you haven't really noticed a difference that would make you buy one over the other?
No, I don't. I mean,
because you spend your days on a 9.5 radius.
Yeah, I'm not the most picky when it comes to radii, nut widths. I do find it'll slowly just steer me in a direction of which guitar I'm gravitating more towards. You know, with the compound radius of the Ultra, you know,
that's
it's
the
cool.
Best of both
it's
worlds.
where it's at.
Yeah.
But you know, I do think that the ultimate goal of the Player Series is probably to make the most versatile guitar that can appease the most players. You know, and I do think that with the options and the ease of use, it's like the features that they added on here cut off certain maybe shortcomings that people ran into. Adding noiseless, adding locking tuners, you know, it just makes things a little easier for people. And I do think, to back up my argument, that it's a Mexican version of the Ultra series. The logo is a metallic logo as seen on the Ultras. But the biggest difference, I think, in terms of neck feel and everything is the rolled edges.
Yeah.
For me, it just feels so good.
I agree, and to your point about the Ultras, I think that you're absolutely spot on. I believe that's what it is, and I think the Ultras are the traditional American Strat for the modern player. These are the traditional player Strat for the modern player. It's interesting if you consider what is available from their Mexican line now, everything that's made in Ensenada. You've got the Player Series, the Venteras, the Noventas, and these. There's a huge offering of just a variety of guitars, and these are really kind of sitting at the top of that, that stack. And I think they're fantastic. Here's the thing: they hit me as such a good value. The more I thought about it after we shot our video, that I started to think to myself, there's people that may prefer this over a Pro 2.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. What do you think the biggest reasons why they would do that is?
Because you get some of those modern features that you don't get on the Pro 2 at a lower price point.
Exactly.
So if you're wanting the Ultra and you don't want to spend $2,000, then you can get this for half the price.
Yeah.
And because it's made 60 miles away. Now there's other feature differences, obviously. I mean, the Ultras have different...
all kinds of carbs and everything.
Compound radius we talked about. But you can get a more modern guitar for less. And it's really a huge value when what I said at the outset is taken into consideration. That there are guitars that are being imported that are $2,000 or more.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, just brass tacks. The reason that most of these guitars cost less is because they're made in a place where the labor costs less or the materials cost less, and so they're supposed to cost less. When guitars are coming in from overseas that cost more than some American stuff, then the question for me is, are they paying the labor that much? Like, are they just taking advantage of rising prices? I don't know. That's a discussion for another time where I'll get myself into plenty of trouble. But I think these being North American built and having the feature set that they have at the quality that they've got makes for a really good value at $999.99.
$999.99, and they sound really good.
But I think that's a great guitar, and I think they are for different people.
Yeah, for sure. If you didn't see the introduction video of the line and you're just running into the Player Plus for the first time on our channel, the switching that is added on the Player Plus Telecaster that is not on the regular Player series is in the tone knob. It's a push-pull, and wherever you are on the three-way selector, it gives you both pickups in series.
Big, fat, kind of humbucker
fat tone. Yeah, really nice tone.
So they do sound decidedly different. Outside of that, just the pickups on their own. You're going to demonstrate that. So put on your headphones, perk up your ears, pay attention, and see which you prefer. Check it out. So there you have it, the Fender Player Series, Player Telecaster versus the Player Plus Telecaster. When we started doing this and I was grabbing guitars, I almost grabbed the Nashville. I'm like, oh wait, no, that's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
So
keep your eyes open on the channel.
yeah, the Nashville is a very, very cool Tele. But you know, I think this is a very good upgrade. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of players. You know, I've said this before. I've got a Baja Tele. It's got different switching, but one of them is that setting. You know, the two pickups on in series.
Yeah.
And I use it a lot. It's
Very
a great,
practical.
Great sound.
Sound, yeah. Comes in a variety of finishes as well. This is aged candy apple red, according to somebody at Fender.
Well, look, I remember once I went to a carnival and I bought a candy apple and I left it in the back of my Jeep. And I found it 3 weeks later. That's roughly what most of it looked like.
Probably
there
had
were
some
other
green
parts of
on
it
there.
that were like
Yeah.
black and green and white, but most of it looked like this.
And it still tasted good. That's the moral of the story.
So yummy.
So good.
Don't let it waste not want that.
So I'm trying to think. I know there's several other finishes in that body
So you
style
got
in that
the
line.
smoke,
Silver smoke,
silver smoke, which is a cool fade.
regular three-tone sunburst, and I believe cosmic jade is available on the Telecaster as well. Could be more. I think that is what's available on the Tele right there.
Yeah.
Either way, they're playing with finishes. They're getting interesting.
More modern finishes.
Modern
Go with a more
finishes.
modern guitar.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great guitar. I've enjoyed playing it. I know that just in the few days that we've had it available, some customers have really enjoyed playing them and purchasing them, and I think that they're going to be the right guitar for a lot of different people. And I think what you're talking about with the options from the Mexican factory, that's probably a lot of people's sweet spot of price, between $800 to $1,000, and they give you, you know, right over $1,000 with some of them, but they give you a ton of options to pick from in the sweet spot price range. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, whatever you want. Vintage, road-worn vintage, Venteras, Player Pluses, anything to suit your heart's desire. If you want information about these or any of those guitars I mentioned, go to our website. What is our website again?
I think it's alamomusic.com.
That's it. You can chat with someone live. You can look at photos. You can check out all the finishes that we have, talk about financing, and sort through all of the guitars to find the one to suit your needs best. We call it finding the perfect guitar. Because at the end of the day, really, the perfect guitar or the best guitar in the world is...
Plus.
I was going to say the one that you're playing, plus...
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
So anyways, if you're new to our channel, make sure that you subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos, keep coming back for more. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.